Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So today we're going to have a quick look at Kong Gateway. We're going to have a look at what API gateways are in general and specifically how to quickly get set up with Kong. So if you enjoy these kind of videos, please consider subscribing and let's get right into it. So what is an API gateway? So I've just got a very kind of simple diagram here which shows it. An API gateway is such a tool or a service that acts like a reverse proxy. So it takes in requests from clients and it basically just routes them based off of some sort of pattern to different backend services. So nowadays, where we have typically multiple services as opposed to a big monolith, sometimes you want to have some either common functionality or specific features that are across all different services, or something that kind of unifies all the services in one, saying in front. And typically, you do that with an API gateway. So why have an API gateway? Again, those are kind of mentioned a few reasons, but there are a few additional reasons down here. API gateway can do things like logging for all kind of incoming and outgoing requests. It can do things like traffic control. So if you think about kind of rate limiting the number of requests coming in for a certain API or based on IP address or something, it can handle concerns like authentication, which you might not want to handle in each individual service. So you kind of delegate that to the gateway. Things like analytics, and a lot more. Generally, I guess it just provides a kind of a unified API layer for any service or any client that's making requests. And regardless of what you have behind the scenes, services can go up, go down. You can scale them up and down, and nothing needs to be affected there. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Today we're going to be looking at Kong Gateway, so let's get right into it. What we're going to build for this basic demo is a Kong API gateway that's going to take two different types of requests based off of the URL and route them to, one is going to route to the GitHub Gist API, and one's going to route to a service that we're running locally. And it's worth noting that when we work with Kong, there's lots of different ways to get started or install Kong. So I'm going to be using Docker. So I've just got a simple Docker compose file to set mine up. And the other thing worth noting is that there's two different kind of modes when you're working with Kong, which is one is a database and one is without a database. So the database is kind of the original way. So you have to set up a Cassandra Postgres database in the backend. And what it does is you can communicate with the Kong service through an admin API, and it stores all the configuration in the database. The approach that I prefer to use here is the dblist mode, which is basically you can provide a config file with basically it's a declarative file with the entire configuration written in YAML, and you pass that configuration. You say, hey, start up with this configuration. So that's the way I prefer to use it. It just means you can typically keep the code in source control, etc., and track it a bit better. I think it's a bit more explicit as well. So yeah, we're going to go ahead with that. So I've set up a new directory here, and this just has three different files: a compose file, a deno API, and the config file kong.yaml for setting up the API gateway. So the Docker compose file is mainly taken from the documentation. I've just mounted the Kong YAML to the Docker container, and I've just specified where that directory is, so it picks up the configuration. The rest of it is just exposing things like ports, the admin API and the standard service port, as well as proxying or adding the destination for logs, etc. So this is all in their documentation, so I won't go into that too much. The deno service is just an API exposed on port 8002, and all it's just going to do is going to respond with hello world. And yeah, we have the kong.yaml file, and again, this is just going to be the configuration file. Now, there's two main concepts here, which are essentially services and plugins, is the main ones to know about. So the services is how we're going to tell Kong which of our services exist and how to route to them, right? So we can route through the URL, we can route through different types of headers. There's different rules there, and we can give them the paths of where to route to, etc. And for the plugins, we can basically add third-party plugins with their names. We can apply them to specific services and add all the configuration we need, things like the authentication or rate limiting, etc. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'll just be using IntelliJ for my HTTP requests. So we're just going to make sure that these work. So if I have this is just the GitHub API, so you can just see that that's returning fine, and we have the hello service, just making sure that that works directly localhost 8002, so that just returns hello world. Then once we have Kong set up, we can in theory, we can query the admin API to get back the details of the configuration, etc. And this is on 8001. And then we have port 8000, which is the actual API gateway itself. So we'll test all that through here. So yeah, let's update the Kong YAML and see how it looks. So we're just going to start off by adding the services block, and we're going to give the first service a name. So this is going to be the gist service, and we're going to tell it how to access the gist service. So in this case, it's a remote API, so api.github.com, and then we need to give it a route. So what does the client need to do in order to reach this service? And like I said, there's different ways. We're going to go with a path, but you could do it with kind of headers, and I think there's different options that you can find in the documentation. So we can give this a name. Again, it's not. I think this is optional. And in this case, we're just going to say, hey, anyone that hits /gists on the API gateway, so by the path, redirect it to this URL for this service. And the next one is going to be our hello service. So this is going to be on, so the hello service is running on our local machine, so the host machine. Kong is running within the Docker, within a Docker container. So this host.docker.internal, it resolves to the host IP address within Docker. So this is basically saying, hey, look for the host IP address and look for port 8002. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to give it a name and a path. And yeah. We'll come back to the plugins actually in a moment. So now we've got the Docker compose file. So I'm just going to do a Docker compose up. I think we need to add a dot. No, just Docker compose up. There we go. So what that's going to do is going to pull in all the different layers, make sure everything's running, and that's going to get it started. So I think that's it running there. So it's going to go to this Docker requests, the Kong request, sorry. I'm just going to call the admin API. And we should be able to see inside here the two services that we have. So we can see the GitHub one and the hello service, and we can then go see all their different routes. So we can kind of query that. And I guess most importantly, the API gateway itself sits at localhost 8000. So if I try hit localhost 8000 by itself, it's not going to find anything because we haven't configured the route to do anything, but we have configured /hello in our config, right? So we've configured /hello and /gists. So if we do /hello, this is going to route us to the hello service. So we've got a good response. If we do /gists, it's going to route us to, I think it was api.github.com. So if I run this one, yeah, this brings us the api.github.com response. So that's all working fine. Yeah, that's basically the services. So now what we can do, if I go back here and I stop that, and go to our Kong YAML, what we can do is we can just add a very simple plugin. Now, plugins are very powerful and super simple to add. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a rate limiting plugin. And again, all the different plugins are found in the documentation, and they each have different configuration which you can add. So the typical pattern goes that a plugins block, in this case the name, which is specific to the plugin you're adding. Name is rate limiting. You can filter this down to just specific services or specific routes. You can kind of tell it when to apply this plugin. So in this case, I'm just saying, hey, for the hello service apply this plugin. And for the configuration, I'm just going to say, hey, we can, in this case, we can just do 5 requests per minute. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to do Docker compose up again and get this running. And what we can do is we can run over to this request. So we're going to do a hello. So I should be able to do 5 within a minute. As soon as I hit the 6th, this should basically fail. So let's do 1, 2, 3. That's working fine. 4, 5. And now on number 6, API failed message, API rate limit exceeded. There we go, too many requests. And yeah, that's plugins in a nutshell. You can add much more powerful plugins like authentication and all different types of things, which is, it's kind of, it's really cool stuff. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover today. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.